Hey guys, it's AJ. Welcome back to my channel. You're watching me and Mr. Vuitton. Today I am here to share with you guys a 6-month wear and tear update of my Chanel Trendy CC bag. And this was requested by one of my friends on Instagram, so I thought I would go ahead and share, and it's a good time she requested the video, and then I thought, well, it's been 6 months since I've owned this bag, a little over 6 months actually, so it'll be a perfect time to go ahead and take a look at the wear and tear that I have on it so far and just sort of get an update and my thoughts on the bag. Would I purchase it again? You know, this, that, and the other. So with that being said, I will get right into this video. If you're new to my channel, welcome. Thanks so much for clicking on this video. Please feel free to like and subscribe and leave me a comment below if you have any questions on the bag or anything I talk about. And I post videos on luxury handbags and reviews. I try to do once a week. Sometimes it doesn't happen, but anyway, I would really love it if you would join my channel, and we will get right into this wear and tear. To start, I thought what I would do is I haven't unpacked the bag any at all since I took it out of storage. And so what I thought I would do is I would kind of go through the particulars of how I store the bag, just so that, because I feel like that's a really integral part of how a bag will wear and survive in your collection, is how you store it. If you're just throwing the bag around, or if you're laying it down, or, you know, with like Chanel Maxi, or like my Maxi or Chanel Classic flaps, they recommend that you stand them up on your one end. So there are things that you can do to preserve the life of your handbag just by storing them correctly. So as you can see, this is the bag. And on the top here is her little blanket. And this came with the bag. I purchased this bag from Hirschleifers, by the way, in case anyone's interested. But here is the little top cover. I always will put that down on top of the bag once she's in her dust bag. This felt here sits right here on the front of the bag. And as you probably noticed when I took that off, this is exactly how it was in storage. I never will close it and turn it to have it stored, because the inside of this bag has stitching on the inside of the flap, which you'll see, and it's going to make imprints on the inside of the flap. So I never seal the bag or, you know, lock it shut when it's in storage. I do the same thing with my Maxi because of the zipper. So I don't want that imprint to be any worse than it already is. So the strap here is just tucked down inside. Lifting this up and removing the felt there. And then on top here, there's another piece of thicker, sort of foamy kind of felt that sits up on top. I tuck it in the back there, and then that protects the flap then when it's shut. So we'll take that out of there. And now you can see down in the bag, I do use Zumani organizers in this bag that were generously gifted to me by Zumani. And then what I do with the strap, the long strap, is just tuck it back there in the back pocket because they just pull through. So that's now what the bag looks like, all deconstructed. And I always will store it with the organizers inside to hold the shape, but then also the original tissue and these first larger pockets that came with the bag. So now we have the bag all opened up and ready for use. As far as wear and tear on the inside goes, there's really none, because I have used the organizer pretty much since I got it. I bought this bag back in August of 2020, and I've used it some. I haven't used it that much. It's not my most used bag, but I'm really, my goal for 2021 is to force myself to use this bag a little bit more than I did last year, just because I don't want to just be afraid of it. It's so gorgeous. It still absolutely makes my heart skip a beat when I see it. I've considered selling it, and I always just chicken out because it absolutely, to me, is the most beautiful Chanel bag. And I just love it. So I just deal with it. I just force myself to use it and enjoy it. And this lambskin is so gorgeous. It's different than the lambskin I've seen on the classic flat bags. I feel like it's a little bit more durable in terms of it's not quite so matte finish. It's a little bit shinier. But it definitely, you know, is delicate, more delicate than like caviar. But I do feel like it has a little bit more of a sheen to it than other lambskin I've seen on classic flat bags. But anyhow, on the inside, as I said, really no wear and tear on that part. The inside flap still is in nice shape. I do still have my plastic here on that part, but as you can see, there's really no major scratches, like from rings or anything on the inside flap there. And then the inside part here, as I was saying, where if you were to have the bag shut, this flap here, where the stitching is, could potentially make imprints. So that's why I try to leave it open, like if it's at work and my cubby where I store it, so that it's not just constantly having that stitching pressing on the lambskin. But you can see even right there, there's really no marks up here where that stitching would hit in terms of, you know, big indents or anything like that. There is one scratch right here on the, I don't know if you'll be able to see it or not, on this quilt right here. Whoops. Let me see if I can get it to show up right there. I did that like the first time I was using the bag. I think a ring just, or no, I know what it was my fingernail. I was going to get in the bag and it just like, and that was it. And now faint scratches you definitely can buff out, and I've done that just sort of with the oils of your finger, and I would say that one probably has gotten a little bit fainter, but it's still there. And it was one of those things when I first did it, I went, and then you go, okay, it's a leather handbag. It's not the end of the world. It's lambskin. It's going to show character marks. It's going to show, you know, scratches and marks. So just get over it and move on and be careful. But if that's something that bothers you, then definitely take that into consideration. Because I knew going in that lambskin was going to be more delicate than my caviar bag. I knew that it would be, you know, something I would just have to be a little bit more concerned about when I was using it. But to me, with this bag, it was worth it because it's so gorgeous and it's such a timeless classic piece. I'll be honest, the Trendy was never on my radar until, you know, probably the beginning or middle of last year. I just didn't really care for it. I don't know why. I always saw it in like really bright pops of color, not in black. And it just was a little bit too trendy looking to me, honestly, for lack of a better word. And then I started to obviously see it on Instagram a lot more and see it in black, and it just is such a stunning bag. So with that all being said, the inside is in really, really nice shape. Moving towards the outside, aside from this scratch right here, which I showed you, there really aren't any other scratches on the front of the bag. I would say there's a little bit of creasing, soft creasing here on the corners. Not necessarily structure loss, but you can see that quilt's a little bit creased. But otherwise, it's really not bad. The one thing I will say about this lambskin is, like, especially in the winter when there's like the fuzz from your coat and just like lint, or if you have, you know, like dry skin and you get skin flakes, I feel like this bag definitely just collects dust, I would say. And that seems kind of odd, but I think it's pretty cleaned off right now. But sometimes it will just have sort of like a layer of dust on it, which I obviously don't really care for, but you kind of just have to wipe it off, like when you get home or with your microfiber cloth that it comes with the bags, because it definitely just sort of collects dust, I would say, just because it is such a shiny leather. I have a little bit of creasing here from where the flap opens. I don't think you can see it right in there. So when you open the bag, see how this right here will crease up. It happens probably worse on the medium size. This is the medium, just because there's more leather here between where the handle attaches and the side. The small is like, you know, not very much space at all. So you can see right there, there's definitely going to be creasing. It just happens with lambskin when you're bending it and you're having that perpetual motion in the same spot. But once it's closed, then the creasing definitely goes away and is a lot better. The top plate, the infamous top plate that you either love or hate, is still in really nice condition. You can see it doesn't have any scratches on it. And yeah, I mean, I had the plastic on it for a while, but then I felt like it just started to look a little cheesy. So I took it off and it's still in really nice shape. The handle itself, I would say maybe is a little bit more bent than it was when I first bought it, but I wouldn't say a ton. And it sort of returns to its own natural curve. It's in very nice condition. There's no major scratches on it or scuffs or anything like that. And then this is the leather break from the shoulder strap then there, and it's also in really nice condition, no scratches. The back of the bag, which obviously would be where a lot of the friction and wear and tear and you know, motion against clothing would occur, is still in really nice shape. The corners are clean. There aren't, you know, there's a little bit of creasing right here, but otherwise the corners aren't really scratched or scuffed or worn off. I would say I've used this bag, you know, in the 6 months I've owned it, I've used it maybe 5 or 6 times for like a week. 3 to 5 days at a time, I would say. The sides are still in very nice condition. You can see there's no structure wear. There's no sagging or lumping or slouching on the sides. Very nice condition, no wrinkles. And then the bottom, of course, has no feed on it, so it definitely is just something you have to be very conscious of where you sit it down. So you can see a little bit of the dust in there that just needs cleaned out, that collects. But the bottom's actually in really nice shape too. No scuffs or scratches or anything. So, and as I said, this is the medium. I was very torn between the small and the medium sizes. The small is obviously the more popular. I bought this and then I really kind of had buyer's remorse about the size. I considered selling this in order to buy the small size, but in the long run, I ended up just staying with this because this bag, for me and my frame, I'm 5'10". I just felt like this size was the better size, not only for my frame, but just for what I carry. I didn't want to have to downsize a lot. So this bag comfortably holds everything that I need on a daily basis without cramming it and stuffing it and stretching out the lambskin. So I went with the medium, and I'm honestly very glad that I kept this size because I feel like this is just a gorgeous size and it holds everything that I need, you know, for a daily type basis. So there's again the back shot. And then the one thing I wanted to also show you is just the strap. Well, I forgot to show you the front turn lock, still in really nice shape. There aren't any major scratches or, you know, tarnishing or anything like that on that front CC turn lock. And then the other thing is just the long strap, which I obviously use as a shoulder strap. It comes, this model has the non-removable strap, but it has the stoppers there. I still have the plastic on them that say, sorry, that's blowing out. There we go. It has the CC stoppers to keep the strap on the bag. And this is the shoulder strap. At first I thought that this chain was a little bit thin and that it could have been a little bit heavier chain. I still probably would stick by that thought or that wish of mine that this was a little bit more substantial chain. I feel like it looks appropriate with the bag, but it definitely feels like when you have the bag on, because it's a pretty heavy, substantial. It's full leather. It's fully lined in leather. I feel like this strap could be a little bit chunkier. I'm not sure if it's the same as my maxi or if it's a little bit thinner, but it just feels a little bit, I don't want to say flimsy because it certainly doesn't feel flimsy, but it feels like it could be a little bit stronger or a little bit chunkier for the size of the bag to, hold it up and carry it. But again, it's never been an issue necessarily that I felt like that's going to break or anything. I just feel like this could be a little bit heavier, especially on the medium. It could be a little bit heavier chain and it still would look okay and not be too chunky. So that's probably one of my only complaints. And the other thing that you'll notice is what I have been doing is I used to, when I first got the bag, because I was so worried about the chain making indentations or scratching the leather, that I would always have that tucked in, and then I would be shopping or I would need to throw it on my shoulder, and it was a big, production in the middle of a store with a bunch of stuff in your hand, pull that strap out. So what I typically do when I'm shopping or using the bag is I just take the strap so it's like this, and then I just flip it once and turn it over, hook it over the back of the strap so I can still wear it on the crook of my arm, because that's typically how I carry the bag. And then the strap is just hanging here so that if I need it, I can easily grab it, pull it up and throw it on my shoulder. And I've never had it, it hasn't been an issue with it scratching. It's just there and it looks kind of pretty on the bag. It's like a little necklace for it. So that's just something I've learned as I've been using it, because I do want it to be functional. I want to be able to use the shoulder bag part of it. So the stitching has stayed very nice. I don't know if you watched my reveal of this bag or my unboxing. I said that I was concerned about the stitching. I was worried about on the edges here, how they look sort of exposed. I think it's just because it's so different than how caviar leather looks, but the stitches have all stayed intact really well. I haven't had any issues with pop stitches, which I'm happy about, because that's something that gives me anxiety, is the thought of pop stitches. So that's done well. I'm not going to lie. I definitely baby this bag. I'm more careful with it than I am with any of my other handbags. It's totally different than caviar leather. You definitely just have to be mindful of the fact that it's definitely more delicate, that you can scratch it with your fingernail. You can scratch it with rings, with zippers on handbags. Or zippers like on your jackets or your outerwear. There are just things you have to be aware of when you are looking at a lambskin bag. But to me, having this bag is totally worth being a little bit more careful with it, because it is so gorgeous. And I feel like it's just an absolutely stunning piece. So I just, definitely want to make you aware of the pros and cons. The pros are definitely that it's divided on the inside. I love that. It's super organized. I can hang it on my shoulder if I'm like in the checkout line and get what I need out of it, and then close it with one hand. It's beautiful. It's ladylike. You could definitely dress it up or down. It's black. I just think it's gorgeous, but the lambskin definitely does take a little bit of extra care and is more delicate. So you just sort of have to weigh those things in your mind to decide if it's one that you want to add to your collection, or if you'd feel better off with a bag that's a little bit less delicate. So I hope that video has been helpful. This bag has really held up well for how much I've used it, honestly, in 6 months. And if you have any questions that I didn't address in this video, feel free to leave me a comment down below, and I will catch you in my next video. I hope everyone's staying well and being safe and healthy, and I will catch you in my next video. Take care, guys.